Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host, Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Jeff Maines. Jeff is the founder and CEO of the SaaS Growth Accelerator Championship Leadership Group. He is also the founder and CEO of a SaaS company as well, named Intelligence Contacts. He's out of Texas. And on top of that, he is also an author of the book, Small Fish, Big Pond, Building a World-Class Business that Swims Circles Around Competitors. Jeff, happy to have you on the show, man. Welcome.
Hey, Ryan, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I love the aspect that you have like the, operator experience, because effectively you built 5 companies totaling over 200 million in combined revenue, which I kind of buried the lead on not including that one, which is awesome. But at the same time, you're helping others with your leadership group. So I think that's amazing. And then you found some time to write a book in the middle of that as well. So it's like, you can't go wrong there, man.
Absolutely.
So why don't I know I gave a real quick intro about you. Why don't you just give us a real quick backdrop on what you're doing, what you're focusing on, with the different companies, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. Well, thank you. Well, my background is very entrepreneurial. Like you said, 5 companies, 4 exits, and still run one of those today, which is Intelligent Contacts. We're a B2B SaaS fintech on the business side of healthcare. So we help fix the billing process for hospitals, health systems, and create great patient experiences, patient engagement, and make the billing experience, which is normally kind of sucky, as great as the care experience itself. And so that's something we've been doing for about 10 years, and lots of fun, trying to make a big difference in healthcare. And then using my SaaS experience and experience building other businesses, I love helping other founders do what I've done and also not make the dumb mistakes that I've made. And it's an exceptionally long list.
Well, okay, so that's awesome, right? That you're also, well, first of all, yeah, medical building does suck, or sucky, as you kind of define it
Yes.
as, right? And then I love the aspect that you're trying to help others, and that's why I'm doing a lot of what I do too, is just because like sometimes there's such an easier path that you could take, but if you don't know what you don't know, you are not going to take that path, right? So
Right.
What would you say are the most, the top 3 to 5 most common mistakes that SaaS founders make? And I think this is especially relevant because of the fact that there's so many new founders that are sprouting up every day because of the democratization of software creation, specifically with all these AI tools and AI enablement capabilities that are happening. So we'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Sure. Big mistakes. One would be not valuing their equity. And so giving it away too soon, whether that's to other founders or other people in the organization, or taking funding rounds really, really early in the process and giving away a lot of equity. So I'd say that's one. Not delegating, particularly as the business becomes a little bit more mature and you start hiring people, not delegating things out, holding on to those. And I see that all the time, just over and over again, that founders will hold on to things that they should have let go decades ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Whether that's doing their own email, or not having an assistant, not letting salespeople run. You hire a VP of sales and let them do their thing. You hire an operations person, and so it's very difficult to do as a leader, is to let those things go, especially when it's your baby. And even myself, I mean, these are things I know to do, but they're still really difficult. I don't think I've ever given anything away without leaving claw marks all over it. And it's a constant struggle, but I see a lot of other founders struggle with that as well. Be too involved in their business. One of the things we want to do is we want to build a business. For most of the SaaS founders, they want to build something that they exit one day. It's not something they plan to be around 20 years down the road and pass it on generationally. Most of them want to grow, scale, and exits. That's one of the things that we help them with. But there's specific things that you need to do in order to build a company, one, that somebody else wants to buy, and 2, that someone is willing to pay a premium for. And so you're really thinking about those things early on and building that way, instead of getting to the point of, okay, I'm starting to think about an exit or starting to think about a capital raise, and now we've got to go retrofit a whole bunch of other stuff to make it where the business really looks good to somebody from the outside.
Okay, I love that, man. Those are very practical. Those 3: equity, delegation, whether it's to an assistant or executive team, right? And then basically not creating a self-operating company so that they can exit, if you will, or building exit, right? So those are the 3 biggest kind of mistakes that they make. what do you recommend as a framework for approaching that and overcoming that? So let's say you're starting a business today, right? You're trying to figure it out, and you want to set it up for success for kind of what you talked about, right? So that your value, I should say, your equity is valued. You're basically not so ingrained in the business that that's all that you do, and then that you have the ability to exit. So what would you do on the flip side of that?
Sure. Well, on the flip side, one that I didn't mention is actually one of the key chapters in my book is focus. And you just brought that up. If you're starting a company, it's going to market, and so often early on, it's who is your ICP? Well, it's everybody. Okay, we got to narrow that down. Okay, it's small business, it's medium-sized businesses, it's anybody will give me money. But really having a laser focus and making sure your ICP is very, very well defined, so you can message that. I think that's a really important one, because you want to have those ideal clients in a specific cohort. So that's one of the things that, going down the road, if you go to do a raise or to sell, and you've got things that are just scattered everywhere across industries, that can be a little bit more difficult to sell. The other ones, delegating, having a system to do that, having some sort of a structure, having an operating system. And it's one of the things that we created, because it's been such an issue, is the SaaS Fuel operating system. And so it's really designed to help companies organize, have very specific KPIs, and to track those in a software. And so you've got everybody on the team, everybody in the organization that's aligned. They understand what their role is. They understand how they fit into the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's real important, is whatever you do, make sure you have some sort of a process to systematically grow and accomplish, what you really want to accomplish, the most important things, in a specific period of time. So, whether that's, quarters or months, or, we work in 6-week sprints. So lots of different ways to do that, but where we have very specific things that everybody is working on and aligned on during those sprints.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. And what software do you leverage for that to track, or which ones do you recommend for the centralized KPI tracking?
Sure, we've actually created it, and so there are a handful of them out there. If you're on EOS, you've got like something 90.io, and so we actually created something that competes with that. It takes some of the elements, the good things that are in EOS, some good things from Rockefeller Habit, some good things from other places, and into a single software. But Scaling Up has a software. There's lots of tracking you could use, something like Basecamp for project management. So there are things that you can do yourself, but having a focused tool specifically for that, I think, is really, really important.
Okay. And what advice would you give, let's say, to a founder that has rich domain expertise, is interested in creating, a SaaS business, but doesn't have a technical co-founder yet? How I'm sure that comes up quite a bit.
Yes.
How do you kind of approach that from a recommendation perspective?
Sure. And that really fits my background. I'm not a technical person, which is really odd, because a lot of things that I've done in the past have had kind of a technology component to them, and 2 SaaS companies. And, not being technical, I think, has been very helpful at times, and a problem at times. And so the first thing is really finding a person that really shares your vision. So I think having a very strong mission, vision, purpose, core values for the organization, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And then getting somebody that is technical to buy into that vision, that wants to help build that and make that come to life. I think that's one of the most important things. So it's not just going and finding development talent. That's pretty easy to do. But if you're really looking for a technical co-founder, somebody to go on that journey with you, it's all about the vision.
Okay, that makes sense. And I would imagine too, like, alignment personally as well, right? With
Yes.
personality habits and like work ethic and priorities outside of work. I would think that's got to be huge too, right?
It is. And I see that all the time, where when those things are misaligned, where somebody is completely focused on the business and somebody else is like, well, it's kind of a side project and I'm working on this in my spare time. There can be some pretty significant conflict. So making sure that those ground rules are really laid out up front, and what is it that we're building. And I think that just goes back to have the vision and the mission. And because if somebody is really committed to that, then they're going to put the time in. They're going to be as passionate about it as you.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, it got me thinking because I know you have a SaaS company, right? And then you have the Championship Leader Group,
Right.
which is like a SaaS growth accelerator. So, and then it sounds like you have the software too, which I didn't realize to track the KPIs of probably the systems that you talk about in there.
Right.
Did you decide to create the Leadership Accelerator first and then the software second? Or did you create the Leadership Accelerator because you knew it would feed into the software? Like, what was kind of your go-to-market motion with that, and how did you kind of create it?
Sure. The software actually came second. And
Okay.
because we're working with lots and lots of founders, I have a couple hundred founders that we work with in the group, SaaS founders. And so a lot of the same things kept coming up over and over. And so we started seeing some gaps in businesses around processes, around KPIs, around team alignment. And where things really started to break down is once you get between 5 and 10 million, there was almost always a point where a company would get stuck. And it's something that, yeah, if they could do it earlier, then they just fly right by that. But if they hadn't done it, then somewhere between 5 and 10, usually around 7, they would start really having some issues. And some of them would get over that, 10, 12, 15, and things would really start to break down by not having those in place. And so we had spreadsheets and some other ways that we tracked it early on, but it made a lot more sense. I mean, we're in SaaS world. Why not build a software and put those in there so that everybody in the organization has visibility, they have alignment, they understand their roles, they understand their KPIs, and they're managing their own goals as well that roll up to higher level goals.
Okay.
So the
So I
software
love
came
that.
second.
So basically you created a second because you started to use it internally when you were
Right.
trying to overcome the problem that you saw in the market, which makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Okay. So talk to me about, what do you see happening in the SaaS marketplace, specifically with the proliferation of AI tools, AI companies, AI resources that's happened over the last 12 months, or 14 months as of now, probably because it started, maybe 13 months, whatever.
Sure.
We get the idea, right? So
It's been
what's your
around a
take
while.
on that, man? Because we've had, I don't know, 8 years of innovation in 4 months. So
Yes,
if you
at
stack that
least.
up, we've had 24 years of innovation over the last, basically year.
Yeah.
If you apply that principle. So what's your take on that? And would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. And I've seen technology move really, really fast in my lifetime, but I've never seen anything like we've experienced over the last 12 to 18 months. It's just unbelievable how quickly technology is moving, and AI is a real game changer. I think it helps so many different areas of business, whether that's marketing messages, whether it's emails, whether it is I need to write an SOP. I don't know how to do that. Well, I can just put it in there, and I can at least get a framework and edit. So it's a whole lot easier to do that. So it's really brought somebody who's kind of a lower or mid-level player or have that kind of expertise and made them in that 90th percentile. And so if you're already in the 90th percentile, maybe you're 95 or higher. So there's a lot that can be done, and everybody should be using AI in some capacity in their daily work. And as a SaaS company, it's really looking at it, not just doing AI because it's cool or it's the latest thing, it's a shiny object out there, but really figuring out where does it fit within your application. How can you use AI to add value? For example, intelligent contacts, one of the things that we've started working on is essentially a chatbot for support. So we have a support team, and so we've got tons and tons of tickets and comments and knowledge base and all that. But we can build our own GPT and put all that data into it, and then somebody can just ask questions, and that can become that first level of support. So sometimes they want to talk to somebody. Sometimes they want to just get the answer and continue on with their day. And so any way that we want to, any way that we can accelerate that experience for them, I think is a really, really good thing. And so it's really looking at your application and figuring out what can I do that would add value to my user. What is going to make their day easier, better, faster, and help them accomplish whatever it is that they want to do very quickly. So not just adopting AI just because it's cool, but figuring out how can we use it to really advance what they're the core reason they're using the software in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What what do you think it's going to do to the SaaS industry as a whole?
Well, it's just making things go faster. So, I mean, we've already seen no code applications or low code. I think that's changed quite a bit because you can go out there, you can build a new SaaS in a few hours, just taking components that already exist. So I think it's just going to continue to advance that. And will it ever write its own code? I don't know, maybe. Not as concerned about that. But it's thinking about what can we do, what kind of solutions can we build, what kind of problems can we solve that are out there, and that they need to be real problems. And so if there's something that AI, if there's a downside, it's that things are so easy to build now, or code is so easy to put out there and create an application. It's easy to chase a false signal. And so you see something out there and, well, hey, this is a problem. We can go make a bunch of money doing this. And maybe, but is it a problem that somebody really wants solved? Is it something they're going to pay to solve? Some are and some aren't. Some problems are just not that painful. Others definitely are. But I think it will fundamentally change how quickly applications go to market and then how quickly others get up to parity. So, for example, you could have a code base that's been built over the course of 10 years. And now you have somebody that starts a new company today, and they can catch up in 6 months. And so things are going so fast.
So what do you, to create, a scalable business that's sellable, right? That's an asset. How are you talking to your SaaS founders about protecting against that?
Well, I think that's one of the things that we talk about is, and we call it monopoly control. It's how do you build a moat around your business? What can you do? And I think one of the ways that you do that is, we talk about this, you can only be as big as you are small. So if you want to get big, go small. And it's really focusing in on a very specific niche. And so, if you're a CRM and you're a CRM for the world, there's 100 other ones. But if you're a CRM and let's say you're in the pest control industry, and that's you're very specific, not just home services, but you're going to shrink down even further pest control. Well, now you have a captive market that you can go after, and you can own a niche like that. Can you own home services? Sure, you could probably do that. Once you capture one, you can probably expand out beyond that. But so many times companies will go to market and they're for everybody. And so it's like, hey, we're a CRM, we're awesome. Maybe. But how can I tell, among the sea of 100 other ones, but if I see one that is very specific to my business and I know you understand my business, now I'm interested. Now there's a conversation to be had. And so I think the smaller you can go, the smaller you can make that niche, the more you can become an expert and become known inside there, the more powerful that is. And that's where you have, when you can own that market, that's when somebody else from the outside comes in. Then they won't buy something that they can build themselves. And so, but if you have that loyal customer base within that market, they may be a layer or two higher and go, I see a lot of value in that. I want to buy that because it's going to take me a lot longer. It's going to be a lot more difficult to build it than just to go buy it. And ultimately, that's what we want, is to be in a place where somebody looks at it and goes, that's worth buying because I can't build it.
Okay. Gotcha. So how small is too small then?
I don't know. This comes up occasionally, and I've never come across a company that is too focused on a niche.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And usually it's go down. And I think when you get, so small that it's scary, you could probably shrink down one layer deeper, and still be in a really, really good place. You think about, we work with B2B SaaS companies. We don't do B2C. We don't do, all of these other things. And that's it. Well, our entire population is, I don't know, 18, 20,000 companies. It's like, whoa, that's really, really small. Well, not really. Yeah. That's manageable. But if we're talking about, investors always want a giant TAM. So, it's, the market's 45 million companies. it's 115 million companies. Well, is that really realistic? Can you market to that? Can you message it? Can you have a message that's going to resonate on something that broad? Probably not. And so the smaller you go, you can get very, very specific with the marketing and the messaging. And they look at you and they go, wow, this was built for me. And that's really what
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah, I can see that, man. Because so it's funny. That's part of a process actually that I go through with clients I've worked with in the past. It actually helped us double our deal size every year for 5 years straight, and then 1,000x our largest deal size as well. So, and I call it vertical to horizontal, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
little different approach, right? So it's funny and I've seen this too with clients I've worked with, and it's so often overlooked and underutilized. But basically, we had a company that I was tasked to create a company or a division to go up market. And so I had to look at the existing customer base, what was working, look at other divisions in the company. And there were some weird outliers that I saw. And effectively what it was is there was outliers, like, for example, one of our main verticals was legal and professional services. And an average ACV was $30,000 a month, right? Of that, that was our biggest vertical. The sales cycle was 12 months long. And I looked at it and I'm like, hey, there's this weird outlier in retail where we have one customer that had $100,000 a month in revenue. It was kind of like an accidental deal with somebody that was a smaller deal, but then got basically acquired and then grew a lot. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, it didn't start at the acquisition point, right? But that $100,000 deal took effectively only 9 months to acquire. So you have a 9-month, $100,000 deal, per month sales cycle versus a $30,000 a month, 12-month sales cycle, right? So I'm like, what would happen if I'm like, why haven't we focused disproportionate time if we want to go up market on this vertical? And they're like, that's a good question. Why? I don't know why we haven't, right? So then I dug in, and then within that vertical, that retail vertical is a massive vertical, by the way, as you know, right? We niched down, and there was certain types of retail that were really good, like, for example, grocery and supermarkets. So what happened as a result of that, we got in there and we landed Whole Foods cold, right? Whole Foods, Amazon Whole Foods, right?
Yep.
And they ended up paying us like over $650,000 a month alone from that opportunity. And it became our biggest vertical. So I've also seen it with clients too, where it's right there, and there'll be 83% of their revenue from 3 verticals when they focus on 12 or 14.
Yeah.
And they don't have, customized content, sales processes, distribution, anything around it. It's just very general. So I get what you're saying, and that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. That's why I was like, what's too small in your perspective? You know what I mean? But you're right, because you could always go to the adjacent area too, right? You could always go to, like you're saying, if it's pest control, you can go over to home services, right?
Right.
So, and you can do that functionally, like if it's a solution for a certain job function, or it could be that vertical or that sub niche expansion that you're kind of talking about as well.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah, but when you own that one, it's a lot easier to expand out from there. But when you're really general and you're like, okay, we're home services for everybody. Well, every one of those companies would say we're in the home services business. They all think that their business is special. It's not like everybody else's. It's really, really unique. It's a small community. But then when you can get into that community and you can say, we're one of you, you're one of us, then it's a lot easier to expand out from there.
Yeah. Makes so much sense. Okay. Well, so let me ask you this. This is a random question. And the only reason I'm asking this, because I just got asked this question for a panel I was on. What's your favorite tool stack that you use that you wouldn't be able to live without?
I think Slack has to be there at the top. That would be one for sure. Is there another one I couldn't live without? Probably not. Maybe, calendar. I just switched over to Reclaim.ai.
What's that? I haven't heard of that one.
It's an AI powered calendar. So it moves appointments around into, open spots. You can have it defend your time in places.
Oh, I love that,
that's
man.
been pretty cool. So
good?
I really like that. But I'd say, those two would be, some of my favorites.
What's the biggest benefit you got from Reclaim AI? I'm going to look into that one.
And it's funny, is lunch. That was my biggest benefit, which sounds crazy. But I would look at my calendar and it would just be stacked. back to back to back to back. And it's like, if I don't get lunch on the calendar, then it's not going to happen. But I can say, I want, this focus time. I want, time to read. I want time, for, to work out. I want, lunch, and it's, at least 30 minutes, but, up to an hour in this kind of window. And so what it does is it works the schedule and finds that and schedules things for me for the month. So metrics review is one of the things I did this morning. And so I say I want to do this once a month around, between these dates. And so it blocked out the time. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's, I've got that. And now I know, this is the time to do that. And if something comes in there and it needs to move it, then it rearranges that. But it makes sure that I get the important things done and that they end up on the calendar, not, oh yeah, I need to do that. And it ends up in nights, weekends, because then those fill up with other things too.
Dude, I love that. I'm gonna try that. One of the things that I did, literally, this was I think the day before. Yeah, it was over the weekend. Is have you heard of the like Seinfeld productivity method at all?
No, what's that?
So one of the things that Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, did is I think it was when he first was getting started, he would basically dedicate a certain amount of time every day to consistent work on his jokes, like his joke stack or whatnot, or his stand-up skits. And so he would spend, I can't remember how much time it was every day, maybe it was a couple hours. And basically he had it all listed out like a bulletin board, and he would red X every day that he did that.
I
Right?
actually have a chart like that. I didn't know that was what it was called.
Okay,
And
yeah.
the whole point, don't break the chain. And so you keep every single day, you have to put the X in there that you did it. And you want to get, don't break the chain.
Yeah, exactly. Don't break the chain, right? So
Yeah.
I found a prompt on this, then created it in ChatGPT, screenshotted a picture of my calendar, and asked how I could apply that with my current schedule.
Very cool.
And it gave some pretty good advice, which was interesting in terms of implementing it. So I might have to check out Reclaim AI and then leverage that in addition to it, because there's some pretty unique things that I was impressed with. So love hearing that's what you did. All right, man. Well, Jeff, unfortunately, we are up on time, and love this episode. This went by super fast. Where can people find you? Where can they find out more about Intelligent Contacts and or the Championship Sales Accelerator Group? Maybe I butchered the name of it, but
no worries. Championleadership.com is the place to go for that. And you can find me across all social. I am at Jeff middle initial K Mains, Jeff K Mains, on all platforms.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Jeff. This was a blast, man. I love having you on.
Thanks, Ryan. It's a good conversation. Thanks.
And thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next episode.